husband would say, oh, you can do this or you can do that. We'd write list of things, or the kids would have things, oh, mum, you could do this and you could do that. And then I just realized that by not focusing on what I wanted and telling people what I wanted and writing it down and giving myself the time and space to achieve those goals, I was achieving nothing. I was going round in circles, pleasing everyone else, but not moving on with my own life. And so no, goals were not part of my early belief system. But when I started to recognize that I was almost like a ship in the middle of the water without a rudder, I was just directionless. And through my own training as a coach, that this was something imperative in being able to move forward. And actually, I started to like having the guidelines, because my mind didn't know what to focus on. Whereas once I was able to have a set guideline of, this is what I'm going to focus on, this is how I'm going to spend my time, this is where I'm at, this is where I want to be, and the goal setting is how I'm going to get there, then it just changed everything. It changed everything with my family life. We would set goals around, cooking schedules and tidying schedules and taking the bin out schedules.
And what did that do for the experience, of you as a family, and how did your family respond to you suddenly becoming this more focused? And because goals are outcomes, aren't they? They are things that it's like, well, we want to produce something.
Yeah. Well, look, initially they didn't like the idea, because it was very comfortable for everybody else to have me doing everything at home. And so when I was then like, well, I don't have time to do the cooking every night because I'm going after building my own business and empowering other women, and I want to be a role model for my daughters as well as other women in doing that. And you have to walk the talk, that you do it wonderfully. There's no point telling other people what to do. In the way you show them how to do it as well, through your own example. And so initially there was quite a bit of resistance, and then when I said to them, but actually I just feel unhappy and stunted in my life at the moment, and my girls were going off to uni, and I said to them, you're going to learn something new. I want the opportunity now to learn something new and to help other women grow. And we had family meetings, actually, believe it or not. We talk all the time about having meetings in work, and we set time aside to plan, but very few people do it with their life or their family. And so on a Sunday afternoon now, and we still do it every week, we sit and we say, right, what do each of us want to achieve this week, individually and as a group? And how can we help one another? So at the moment, for example, we're all at home, and I had to say to my family, please don't use the internet for the next hour, because I need it for our call. And please don't come in and interrupt, and don't let the dog bark, because they're realities of us having this call. And they're all like, yeah, okay. But my daughter's got exams coming up, and she's got some things that she needs help with. She was like, Mum, please, can I just not cook this week because I need to focus on my work? And we're like, yeah. So it's a two-way thing.
And what I'm hearing there too, Anne, is that because you decided on something that was important to you, there were specific standards of behaviour that you needed to apply to yourself, but also ask of others around you. You were very specific in your asks there. And similarly, I'm seeing that your daughter is modelling the same, right? In that it's like, as opposed to, I think, certainly, that wasn't the modelling I had as a child from my mother. It was more, there wasn't that communication directly about what her needs were, but there was still a lot of emotion when her needs weren't met. But it's messy.
Yes, yeah.
And
I was the same, and it was the same for us prior to me deciding to set up my business, because I think we can tend to become a bit of a martyr unwittingly. And it's only when things are not going our way that we then spit the dummy. And I just realized through my own training that I was just going about it all the wrong way. And that actually, rather than having to tidy up the mess afterwards, why don't we plan before we start, so we know what the journey is, and getting everyone's buy-in. So it was like, I'm committed to this. Can you guys be committed to helping me? And I'm committed to helping you grow as well.
So I'm really hearing that the focus on each of you as individuals and as a team. And, you know, isn't that so much what, you know, what our corporate managers and directors and CEOs are wanting, that type of communication and engagement. And it seems to be really, really hard to do. So, you know, I guess, you know, when someone comes to you with a for help, you know, what's is the presenting problem? Oh, I want to set goals because I've realized that I'm missing the boat if I don't set goals.
No.
I wish it was that easy, huh?
Yeah. No, it's funny. It's never that, is it? And it's funny why we talk about goals, but it's part of the whole process. I think usually people come when there's a pain point and there's something that they just can't bear anymore, and that can be in your corporate career, maybe, where you want to get a promotion but you're not being heard, and you're waiting for the company to back you, to promote you, to listen to you, to train you. And what I say to women is that you can sit and wait forever. There comes a stage where you have to ask for what you want. And you know, it's funny because many females were the first to put our hands up and offer help when we know someone's in need. But we often really struggle with asking what we would like, and whether that's fear of rejection, or you were just told, you know, when you went to school to sit down and be quiet, and then you were applauded for sitting down and being quiet, and we've learned that behavior. Whatever the reason, one of the things is to find your voice, to find out, what do you really want? What's going to give you a sense of purpose, a sense of well-being? And some women will say to me, I just need the money. But, well, what are you going to do with that money? What will that money bring you? Because money alone isn't going to be enough of a driver to keep you going when things get tough. And so we dig deeper into, you know, why they want this change, what can they bring to it. And I use a lot of NLP techniques in my coaching. And what I love about NLP, it's not just telling people what they should do, because we're all very good at that. You should do this, but it's actually showing people how to do it. You know, you say, oh, you just need to change your attitude. How do you change your attitude? How do we actually do that? And so that's one of the things that I love to share. And it was a huge part of my own journey. I wanted to change, but didn't know how.
Yes, and I think that's, you know, definitely what I'm hearing is that there's got to be, as you say, some kind of pain point, that catalyst to actually, you know, send us on the path to seek out other ways, some kind of help, even if we can't articulate what that is. And then the process of their, even if you've never set a goal yourself at all, you can start at any time and learn and be and take a journey to actually make things different. And I think that's what inspires me about women like yourself, and who have taken that leap of faith, you know, at that when the kids are grown, because, you know, in prior generations, they didn't, for a whole lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your success strategy, you know, or whether there's something that stands out for you as a particular, you know, turning point, win or insight, or something where, you know, you were never going to go back again after this particular experience.
Yeah, I think the joy that I get through what I do in watching other people grow, and watching the influence that I was able to have. I never thought of myself as an influential person or an inspiring person, or I was just a mum, and I just was, I mean, I'd worked in corporate when I was younger and stuff, and I'd done a bit of sales, and But I just, I think the being able to be open and heart-centered was huge for me. Whenever I go in a room and I say what I'm struggling with, I give other people permission to say that too. And I think one of the things that we miss maybe in the corporate world is it's like, if you say that you're struggling, you're seen as weak. If you say that if you're too kind, that's seen as weak. And I love the whole feminine side of leadership, because women are actually very strong and very intuitive, and we're able to see the bigger picture. I think we probably also are able to let go of our ego easier, especially, you know, when you become a mum, you just have to let go of your ego. You just like, you become the lowest common denominator in society, you know, in many ways, because you know, you put everyone else first. And so when we go into work, we tend to kind of like put on this mask, and it's like, you know, we feel we have to be masculine, or we have to act and talk in a certain way. And one of the things I'm helping women do is take that mask off and say, no, you don't have to be anything but you, because you yourself are the uniqueness. What you bring is the balance to the table as in a male environment. And it's not about...
because just on that topic of mask, and in a way, it's like they, you know, it's the fitting in, or belief that you've got to be a certain way to be accepted in those environments, because the business world, you know, was started by men. You know, it's been dominated by men for, you know, a very, very long time. And we are seeing a lot more focus on women's leadership development in organizations. And there's also a lot of studies that are indicating it, you know, is it really working? You know, are we seeing any changes in the numbers? So I think there's a real opportunity, and for like fresh approaches, you know, to the whole business of how we actually coach women, how we teach them leadership, and to, you know, and is the secret sauce really here in this? Let's really get reconnected with who we really are, and be brave enough to be who we really are.
Yeah. And I think women are good at putting themselves in someone else's shoes. And this isn't about women or men, it's about balance. Because when you've got both, it's not too heavily weighted to one side. You've got, you know, a bit of both, and you bring the two together. It's like in any of the personality profiling, you know, if you've got someone from each of the different quadrants and you bring them together, there'll be a team that will find it quite hard to work with each other because they're so different. But they all bring something different, which is the plus. And so it's having women to step into their own excellence and say, to really own who they are, what they know, to believe in themselves, to speak up, and not in a combative way, but just in a empowering way, to empower those that are with them as well. And what comes from that is just such a sense of joy and satisfaction in your work. It doesn't become this goal that has to be fought, or this war that has to be fought. It's just a process that you're involved with, that's unfolding and evolving, and yeah, just a kind of a really beautiful leadership, you know, a really empowered leadership.
And that's reminding me of Viktor Frankl's discussion or perspective on goals around, are we enjoying, you know, the journey? Can we enjoy the journey itself? And then also to find joy in the outcome, irrespective of whether that outcome actually is the initial goal you set. It's like somehow we've got to be striving without being so attached to that outcome. And because what happens, and I see this a lot in very highly driven women in sales environments, in business environments, where they are so driven by the goals that the goals define them. And so when they fail, it's like that. It's like, I'm a mistake. Not that I missed a goal, but I am, you know, I missed it, and therefore I'm totally, you know, all at fault. So we take on like like so much more blame often when things are missed. So that the idea of having to do things perfectly, or if you don't achieve things. And this is also where, you know, I see the value of having that coach in your corner, right, to be supporting you along that way. And I can see you're a really nurturing, totally like backing your girl, you know, all the way.
Yeah, but it's also, it's not, some people think coaching is sort of like you've got somebody that's going to listen to you moaning, and it's not that at all, as you know. It's very challenging, and often people don't like to be challenged. But when we are, it's sort of like pushing an Olympian to do better than they think they can, only rather than physically, I'm doing that mentally. But if I could pick up on what you said about enjoying the journey, that's exactly what it is for me. And I think one of the things I came across as well in my own experience was that we're all taught SMART goals, and I'm sure SMART goals were written by a man as well. And most of the people who, you know, very logical side of the brain that's used. And for people that, I'm sure everybody here's heard of it, but if you haven't, the S is for specific, make the goal specific. The M is for measurable. How are we going to know whether it's a success or not? The A is for achievable. So don't make your goals too high in case you can't achieve them. The R is for realistic. You know, let's stay in that conscious thinking. And the T is for timed. And I do believe in that, you know, have a set time. But every time I used to look at those goals, I would just feel this weight. I'd be like, oh, do I have to set these SMART goals? And it just didn't sit with my personality. And I was kind of daydreaming one day about having to write goals and resisting. And I saw the word SMART backwards. And if you look at it backwards, it actually reads TRAMS. And I thought, oh, that's funny.
It does too.
And it made me think of a tram. You're on the track, you're on the right track. Where are you heading? Who's on the tram with you? Do you have a map? Do you have a timetable? What if it's going up the hill and it starts getting tough? Are you going to jump off and give up, or are you going to stay there? Are you the driver of the tram, or are you sitting up the back waiting on it taking you to paradise? Are there other trams coming off? Are there other tracks that are going to distract you and take you elsewhere, or are you staying singularly? And I just came up with this whole big journey image, and that was a light bulb moment for me, because it was that case of, and people say enjoy the journey, and that I actually love what I do every single day, because I just see it as another step in the journey. It's not this holy grail that I've got to get to, and as you said, you don't meet it, you then feel like a failure. And our self-talk, we are so good at beating ourselves up as women, and really telling ourselves, you know, that it's not good. And so what I did with the trams was I actually put words towards them that helped me as an individual. And I know you do use this with clients, and a lot of them have said they found it really helpful. So is it okay if I share that now?
Absolutely, yeah. And we definitely put it in the group as well. Please do.
If we've got time. So the T is for towards, because what you learn with NLP is that there are goals that you go towards, but there are also goals that you go away from. And so, for example, let's say it's wanting to lose weight, right? So a towards goal would be, I want to be fit and healthy. That's what you want to go towards. But an away from goal would be, I don't want to be fat. So so it's a negative goal. It's taking you backwards. So we always want to set a towards goal, something that's really drawing you almost like a magnet to it. The other thing that I then learned, and the R stands for relationships, because no matter what it was I wanted to do, I had to get the people around me to support me. And initially I was trying to do everything myself, and I'm really struggling. So not just the family, but even being part of your group, Leah, being with other women that are striving and doing the same things, but loving what they do, who are in it for the long haul, who are trying to make a difference in the world, you know, being inspired by other like-minded women, building relationships is key. And your relationship with yourself is very important, but that's a whole nother topic. The A then is for our attitude, because We can get up in a grumpy attitude in the morning, but it's whether we hold on to that all day or not, or if we're able to let go of it and say, you know what, this has happened. I've had a nasty email. I've had a client cancel. It's freezing cold outside. I'm stuck in isolation and blah. But are you going to stay there, or are you going to change your attitude and say, all right, well, I'll allow myself to be in that state for the first half hour, and then I'm going to shift and I'm going to get back into work mode and moving forward mode and my towards mode. So the A is for attitude. The M for me,
taking responsibility. So having the awareness of where you are right now, like honoring that, but giving it a deadline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's that goals mindset again.
Yes.
Every step of the way, I'm hearing it. Yeah, keep going, please.
So the M for me was meaningful. I had to do something that was meaningful for me. My business had to be meaningful. I'm at the stage in life, you know, I wasn't needing a lot more money. I wasn't needing a lot of anything. It needed to be what I wanted to do. It wasn't based on needs, and it needed to be something that I felt really meaningful and had great purpose behind it. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with goals. They don't really get to the crux of the meaning behind why they're doing what they're doing. It's like, oh yes, I will lose this weight, or I will earn that money, or I will, but we don't go, you know, what will that bring you? And then when you get that, what will that bring you? How will you know when you've achieved it? How will you feel when you've achieved it? You know, and memorable as well. So for me, I don't know if this happens to you, but a funny thing that's happening at the moment is that Facebook keeps throwing up these pictures from a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever. And like 5 years ago, it was me walking the dog in the park because that was my life. But last year, it's about all these business things that I did. And it's showing me how I've grown, but it's also showing me all the memories that I've created through this business journey. So meaningful and memorable, I think, are really key when it comes to setting goals. And then the S is for two things really: stable. So staying stable on the track. You know, don't let things rock your boat. Don't let other people's judgments.
So S is stable.
Yes.
This is brilliant, Anne. I'm really enjoying this.
Oh, good.
You're such a great storyteller.
Oh, thank you.
But it also, it's the journey, and it's the journey, it's the heart, and there's a lot of logic. I hate to tell you, there's actually a lot of logic in what you're expressing too. So
yeah, a bit of both. Yeah. So for me, it was about finding that balance, and I think that's what I help women do. Is like, my way doesn't mean that's the right way for everybody. It's about and it's one of the things we have to be careful with in companies, that when we become a company puppet, that we lose our own identity. Whereas if you can be empowered and strong and have that belief in yourself, you can go in and make a positive difference in the company, bringing your strengths and your heart-centeredness or thinking or your skills to that. And I also like to always say that the S is for smile. Because I think if we don't enjoy what we're doing, we have to ask the question, why the heck am I doing it? You know, and really, you owe it to yourself for the amount of time that you spend in work to at least enjoy what you're doing. And if you don't, find out why, or find something else.
Yeah, and that's a really great point to close on as we come close to time now. And I think that's definitely the experience that I see with people who, particularly in corporate, in that middle management, or they've been in senior management for a long time, and then they start to get that rumble of, you know, what I'm doing actually have any meaning to me personally? And that's often the rumble that then does bring them on this journey. And one of the things that I will say, you know, whether it's to the corporate, you know, CEOs or directors who are employing me in as a coach, or to the professional themselves, is that one of the outcomes of this is that you'll either fall in love with what you do and find ways to be your whole self in this role and, you know, in your progression path, or you will find other alternatives, because there's so many people in corporate environments, and not just in corporate environments, but they're feeling trapped. It's that treadmill of having to do that thing because that at least pays the mortgage. It pays them, so that sort of sense of being trapped. And so what I'm hearing from you is that there's a lot of skill and support and challenge and a system that you lead people through that enable them to reconnect with themselves, so that they then can refine their voice. As you said, that everybody has that voice in them, and sometimes it is a matter of finding it. Maybe it was shut down when we were 2. Maybe it was 12. Maybe it was the first job. Maybe, you know, it's been a string of jobs and that's become the norm. But finding your voice and then having the courage. But there are skills to be able to then express that voice in ways to be heard in the way that you want to be heard and understood. And clearly, and that is absolutely, you know, one of your superpowers, if not your core tram or track that you run on. And you know, I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I would absolutely let's put that formula in the Facebook group as well. But you know, what last words would you have for anybody who's feeling like, oh, you know, yep, I reckon I'm ready to, you know, take a chance and discover some goals or set some goals. You know, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Oh, thank you, Leah. So my website is annmckeown.com. And I actually give a free initial session. So if anybody would like to come and discover, is coaching for you or not? Because what I say is, we have an initial chat. I might not be able to help you, but I might be able to put you in touch with someone that can. So you can book in for a time that suits you. I've got some free slots in my calendar. I'm also on Facebook, all the social media platforms, LinkedIn and whatever. So yeah, just book in a time, and I'd be very happy to have a chat. I'd also just like to say that if you find yourself in a position where you are in a job that you really don't like and you have to stay because you do need to pay the mortgage and the money, and you're grateful that, you know, at least you've got a job in this time, let me help you enjoy that job again. Let me help you find what it was that attracted to you in the first place. It doesn't mean that we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are other ways of approaching, you know, the same role or the same issue.
Yes, I think that's a really good point, and particularly in these times where there are a lot of people who, you know, are probably, you know, really grateful that they're getting a paycheck. So yeah, there's always a better way, isn't there?
It's always another way. Yeah. All
right, well, let's sign off from Facebook for now. And
thanks, Leah. Thank you, everybody. It's been a real pleasure to chat with you, and I love what you're doing, so keep up the good work.
Great. Thanks very much, Anne. Thank you so much. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then do subscribe to Z Access TV while you're here. And there are a series of interviews with experts, and it's certainly a good place to come and revisit this very rich conversation with Anne McKeown. Thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.